Welcome back, everybody. So this is going to be the watch list for Monday, May 19th. And before we get to the economic calendar, just want to cite two things that we have that yet have to have some resolution possibly this week. So first and foremost, you're going to see that Moody's has downgraded the U.S. credit debt rating. So last time this happened, one time the market moved down 7%. Another time it moved down 1.5%. We'll have to see what the futures do when they open up here in just a few hours, but do probably anticipate a little bit of selling pressure on the open. Now, this was witnessed in the after hours, and you'll be able to see that on the charts. Secondly, is that the U.S. has a budget that needs to be reconciled and approved, and right now there's kind of a stalemate in D.C. So, is there going to be progress on that as well? Those are the two big headline risks that we're going to want to keep an eye on this week. Now, when it comes to economic news, there really isn't much. It's actually kind of quiet. So, Monday, we really have nothing other than U.S. leading economic indicators. So, we'll want to watch that at 10 a.m., 30 minutes into the market open. We have nothing on Tuesday other than a bunch of Fed governor speak. Not worried about anything there. Same thing on Wednesday. Pretty much a moot point. And then we're going to get into some numbers on Thursday with initial jobless claims. So again, we're going to want to watch the unemployment number. And then again, PMI, right? Is the overall inflation starting to tick higher? Right now, every report that's come out, it says, no, it really hasn't. Inflation is actually holding relatively low. You're not seeing any increases, and frankly, we're seeing a couple of decreases. But what's going to be important is what happens 30, 60, 90 days out from here with the 30% China tariffs on goods and services. Now, there was another what do we want to call it? Maybe a tizzy back and forth between the administration and Walmart, where the president called out Walmart directly and basically said, quit telling your customers that your prices are going up because of tariffs. That's not the reason why. And if you believe that, essentially, you need to just eat the fee. Like, well, I'm pretty sure Walmart's not going to eat the fee. So the administration was very, very direct and clear that you have made billions and billions of dollars off of the American public, and just because you're going to import goods and services or products from China and you're going to pay a higher fee, you should not be passing those on to the overall consumer. So I would definitely keep Walmart on your watch. They had earnings last week. They guided stable for a forward outlook, but the stock was actually up 2% pre-market, then it dropped as low as 4.5%, then it closed flat on the day. We were able to take a good trade there. So again, we are always in a tweet news cycle, whether you like it or not. It's just what we have to contend with, okay? Existing home sales will be important. And then on Friday, new home sales, and then that's really it. I mean, it's a pretty light news week. Now, everybody who was going to announce earnings that was relatively important has already announced. And that's, frankly, all of the banks and all of the tech companies. We do have NVIDIA earnings coming up, so that will be one to watch. But as far as Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google, right, they're all out of the way. So we will want to watch the semis and the overall chip sector. Now, you can see what I was talking about. So on Friday, we're going to look at SPY right here. The market pushes up 5 minutes before close, and we hit my price level of 594.43. Moody's literally comes out 15, 20 minutes later, downgrades the U.S. credit rating, and huge selling going into the post-market close. So again, we're going to have to watch and see what happens. Here is the futures data, right? Futures gets the news, sell. This is ES, this is NQ. Volatility really stayed the same. It didn't pick up, or it really didn't move. So we're going to want to watch what the futures do come later this afternoon, and then what happens in the overnight market, and then going into tomorrow. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But here's my price levels. Nothing's really changing to the downside. My lower price levels is 586, 585. I still have the all-time high to the tariff low pivots on here, for the fib levels. So 786, we'll want to see if we can hold that and move higher. And then we do have a big gap below. So if we get below 577, definitely am shorting this market all the way down into the 560s. Okay, I don't know that we'll get there, but we'll keep an eye on it. Let's take a look at QQQ. Same thing, massive sell-off. They actually get below the level of 514.92, try to bounce it higher, but if we lose this 4-hour overall demand zone, then I really don't have anything until we get down here to 505, 502. So, we could see this precipitously move down. Again, I'd be watching the 786 fib that we caught and held on the way up to see, do they lose this? But if we lose this 510, 509, then definitely 505 is going to be in the cards. So, and then I believe we do have probably a large gap below. Yep, pretty much from 501 all the way down to 491. So the question is, the market's asking itself, we dropped down 20-some%. We rallied all the way back up to where we were in the pre-tariff announcement. And now, are we heading back lower? So was this just a bull run in an overall bear market? Okay, so we're going to want to keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at tech stocks. Tech is not acting well, in all honesty. So we're going to look at Apple first and foremost. This one's really been struggling. Again, President reached out to Tim Cook and basically said, Tim, I don't want you building iPhones in India. You need to bring all manufacturing back here to the United States. Basically, we gave you a carve out for your cell phones for tariff exemption, so on and so forth. So that news does not bode well for Apple. Again, anything which the administration is directly going after, the market is pretty much just selling on it, because what they don't know is the administration going to take an even firmer stance to go and target those companies. Again, like it or not, I don't know, your perspective is your perspective, but when the President of the United States is calling out CEOs and saying, you better not do this, then you probably don't want to be long the stock. I'm not sure what else to say, right? Now, longer term, could this bode well for them? Sure, but we have a big gap below on Apple too, where we lose this 206, we can definitely head down to the 200 range. So lots of consolidation here, but overall not looking too hot. So let's take a look at Amazon. Very similar, rolling over in tech. It caught a really nice bid for, a hot second up to 215. We're now back down to 202. We're at the 50 fib, holding that with a huge gap below. Okay, so I will adjust this gap as the market opens on Monday, but we could definitely be pushing all the way back down here to 194. So I like that for a short position. Google recovered all of the sell-off news on the fact that the default browser for Apple might be changing to a ChatGPT, but you'll note that what they did is they were able to get it above this 163.70, hold it, push it up, hold it, push it up. This was in the pre-market. Hold it, push it all the way up, but now they are selling it back off. And I would definitely be open to going short, right? I don't have any buyers really down here till 160. A 30-minute time zone isn't all that strong, but something to watch for a retest. And let's go lower. Let's take a look at Meta. So Meta, all in all, exact same thing, kind of rolling over. We were in a nice uptrend. Now for the last 1, 2, 3 days, we are heading lower, a gap below. We break the gap. We don't have any buyers down here until 596. And that's where I would expect you could get a bounce. You'll see during the day we got a bounce here. We got a bounce right before the market close, and then a price level of 589. But not much is holding this up. We have to get below this 620, 622. I really like this one also for a potential short to the downside. Let's look at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, I said, has they have earnings coming up, not for a little while, though. I think we might have another week on this one. But you can see the exact same thing with the semis, right? They're pushing it higher, pulling it all the way back and forth. Lots of volatility. So another great name for just catching a move in one direction or the other. 132.37, if we can reject that on the open. The only part I don't like is we have a fair amount of buyers here on the 2-hour time frame, but we do have a gap below, okay? So you'll look where it closed, right above the level. And then again, we have a fair amount of buyers. But again, when that Moody's news came out, what did everybody do? They just dumped the U.S. market. Okay, so we're going to really want to see, can we catch a continuation of that to keep going lower? United Healthcare, in the news, we took several trades on this thing, right? We do have a huge gap above. We really don't have a gap below, but I would expect that this news cycle is not over for them. And my guess is it's probably not going to bode well. Now, do you want to just try and take this for a bounce? Absolutely. I mean, I think calls here on Friday really paid nicely. We just went all the way up to the next zone. Now we are actually going to compress. We are between a price pivot right here at 283 and 292. So we'll want to watch how this behaves. Lots of buyers here, but these buyers could easily be absorbed because I'm positive, fairly positive, that there's not 10 million people sitting here waiting to buy this if it comes lower. Now, the other thing that happened too is there is now a class action lawsuit going on against United Healthcare. Basically filed that the executive team were in the know for things that were going on with fraud, securities fraud, or unlawful business practices. Okay, so you're going to have all these law firms that are now going to start stepping in with this huge sell-off of 60% of the stock from the all-time high to the recent lows, saying you guys clearly knew something of material fact that you were hiding from your shareholders and you were profiting from it illegally behind the scenes, right? So it's this whole Department of Justice, basically Medicare, Medicaid fraud, and then the UNH executive team comes out and says, that's not true. We were never notified by the government. We are not part of an investigation. So if it comes to be that they actually were, and then they made public statements saying they weren't, not going to bode well for United Healthcare or their legal costs that will probably get a bit out of control. Boeing, a lot of orders coming in from the Middle East, so that was a huge catalyst on the president's recent trip there. He had secured a lot of orders for Boeing, for United Emirates, and a lot of other countries to start buying planes, Qatar, from Boeing. Okay, now if we can push up to this 203.61 in the pre-market, I'd like a short, right? I really have sellers up here. I have buyers here. I'd love us to see us get a pop. We have a gap down here below. This stock has been absolutely horrific for the last, 5 years at least since COVID started. And a definite push to the downside would be something that I would be interested in watching. Look at Walmart, because I talked about Walmart, right? We'll watch this in the pre-market, but again, depending upon if there's any news, and I'll watch the news cycle to see if and when and how Walmart responded, right? Will they just eat the tariffs? They might, right? Because who knows what could be further sanctions on Walmart or what could happen to them. But obviously, we're in here with a lot of sellers. We get a push up to 97.55. I'd be good with going short down here to 96. We get below 96. I think you're good to short down to 93. We get below 93, then I'm not so fond of shorting it, right? Might get to 92, but we got 1 week and 1 day worth of buyers here, and that's a very, very strong sentiment. Okay, let me just check. Any news? Nothing really. So here's the article. If you want to read about the comments on Walmart that they just need to eat the tariffs. So interesting, right? But we love these news catalysts, guys. I don't really care what the administration wants to do or how they want to do it. I just want to play off the volatility. I want to play off people's greed and fear, one way or the other. So it doesn't matter to me. I don't own Walmart. I don't shop at Walmart. But am I willing to trade it? Hell yeah. You know I am. Let's take a look at the banks. Again, I think they've run too far too fast. JP Morgan Chase kind of over the last couple of days really trading right around this level here. If we get below 264.65, I definitely like this for a put trade. There's maybe some support down here at 262, not overly heavy, but we got a gap fill below. And again, Moody's downgrading the U.S. credit rating. The banks are not going to respond well to that, right? So let's keep an eye on JP Morgan, maybe take some short in the banks. Do not take the regional banks. Stay away from the PNCs, the US banks, the smaller banks. You want to stay with the big banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, right? You want a lot of liquidity and you want to be where the money is going. So coin, huge run on Friday. I think it was up 8%. It was added to the S&P. So that was the news catalyst driving this thing higher. I do like shorts below 259.40. We're pretty much there. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But if we can get a weak close below, I think we could definitely head lower to 246, especially if the entire overall market is weak. And the valuation these things are trading on are just astronomical. Same thing with Palantir. Look at them dump Palantir after hours, you guys. I mean, we played this for a bounce. We also played it for a put trade. But oh my gosh, this would have been like lovely to be able to play on a Monday, right? So here's a classic example. Classic. I mean, we have, again, my strategy. I want to see a candle close below the level. It closed. Next candle, push up, start to fail the level, get in puts. Where do I stop out? Right here, 128.30. Where am I going to write it down to? My next level of liquidity. Where did it go to? The next level of liquidity. 9 below the 21, right? VWAP, well below VWAP, and we are probably going to head lower. So now I'm not going to take a trade on Palantir unless we break 124.78. And then I'd love to see us slice through this 123 number and maybe bounce here around 120. But 4 points is going to give me about a 3% drop. I'll play that every single day, right? Great risk reward. Let's look at it on a 1 hour time frame. And then when the market opens, again, my 9, my 21 rolling over. Ideally, if we could get a push all the way up to 127, that would be fantastic, right? If we could come up here and fail it and go lower, we'll see if they got enough juice in the market come tomorrow morning. But again, overly be patient. We got to see what the futures market does. Keep an eye on what's going to happen with the Moody's credit rating of the U.S. debt. That's going to be a big piece. And then the budget, right? Right now, the Republicans are not willing to play ball. They are just rejecting the president's economic package. And could that be a stalemate in D.C.? Time will tell, right? But that's kind of some of the things that I'm watching for on Monday. And I'm just going to trade it accordingly. So no bias. I don't have a preference one way or the other of what's going to happen. Again, if healthcare is weak, I've been watching Humana, maybe a short there. So have your strategies, have your setups. I didn't look at Tesla. Why don't we do that real quick together? Kind of eluded me. Let's see what's going on with old Elon Musk. Tesla. So again, my price levels are always going to be on the charts. Okay, here's another great example, right? We were able to hold and reject this 336 from way back in time, but we break below 336. We do have some short-term buyers here, but if we get below basically 332, then I think there's definitely an opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my level here, just in case I want to turn off my overall supply and demand, right? We get weakness going into the open. We drop below 332. We don't have buyers until $10 lower. And then really, there's some strength here at the 4 hour and the 3 hour. But if I were to look, we have a gap fill down below. So could they fill that gap? Yes, I'm heavy one day, but if we get below, and this is what I like to trade, I love to trade black open space. Drop below, retest, go lower, okay? There's nothing holding me up. I don't like to trade when we have buyers and sellers right on top of one another because that's price balance, right? And when price is balanced, options premiums just chop. I don't want to trade puts here. We're in 4 hour overall demand. Maybe if we get above this level and we push higher back to 346 on some buying that happens, we'll look at that. Or if we get down here to 336, I'd be open to buying. But that's just kind of, again, take a trade at a price level, use supply and demand, use your EMAs, your VWAP, and just watch price action. So with that, have a phenomenal Sunday fun day. I will see you all tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for our pre-market analysis. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.